Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the NFL Power Rankings show. This was a tough week with the Colts losing and the Browns losing and the Titans losing and the Steelers winning. I had some tough calls to make, and especially with the Rams loss, I had to choose who would go down, who would go up, because those are four of my top 10 teams from last week who lost, which made it really difficult to decide some things for this week. Because at this late point in the season, you pretty much know where everyone stands, but a loss should still hurt a team. But at number 10, you have the Miami Dolphins, who snuck away with the win against the Raiders this week in an awesome game. I mean, the game wasn't great, but the ending was amazing because Fitzmagic is perfect at football. But I figured I'd put them on the list. I feel like they're a team who has really just grown as the year has gone on. And I feel like they're a very complete team, like as Belichick would say, like pretty good on offense, good on defense, good on special teams. They're a very complete team, which I think is very few right now. Like, I feel like a lot of the great teams are pretty offense heavy and don't have a great defense, but I think with having a more complete team, the Dolphins could cause some problems in the playoffs if they bring the right amount of pressure. I think the coach is great. I think Tua is good, but I think he has a ceiling, which is why I put them at 10. Because, like, they're good, but they're not winning the Super Bowl, I don't think. And I think that the Browns would beat them, so I'm having the Browns at number 9. That which is down 3 from last week. I had them at number 6 last week. Because, I don't know. I mean, they lost to the Jets, but in their defense, they had no receivers. But I still felt like I should bring them down a little bit because they could have won the game, I think. I know they were down receivers, but I still think they should have been able to win the game. Like, it's the Jets. Who, I mean, I guess they're on a 2-game win streak, so go them. But I feel like the Browns are kind of like the Dolphins, where they're good. And they're also another one who's a little bit more of a complete team. They get good pressure on the quarterback. They have a good running game. Baker has been playing great. Obviously not yesterday, but he didn't have receivers, so it's just hard to judge. This is why this week's weird. But I think they should still be on the list, obviously. I wasn't quite sure where to put them. And I think that they'll be good in the playoffs and cause some problems, but I see very few ways that they're getting past a good team like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens or anything like that. And I think that the Titans beat them, so I'm putting the Titans at number 8. This is down 1 from last week because it was a tough loss to the Packers. I owe definitely some of it to it being just snowy in Lambeau, but they still lost, and they lost big. Like, it wasn't a close game. Like, the Packers were in control the entire time. And so, Titans are a good team, but there are definitely problems. Their defense is trash. They have no pass rush, kinda a secondary, but it's weak. And their offense is good. Henry is awesome. Tannehill's been playing great. Great receivers, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. But I just think that they're another team with a ceiling, which is why I have them at number 8 and not in the top 5, because I feel like when Henry doesn't play well, they don't play well, and you can't just rely on that if you want to get far in the playoffs. And while Henry is great and will pretty much bring you to the playoffs and maybe even win you a game or two, I just don't see a lot of ways that this team makes a playoff run like they did last year, where they get really far and almost make it to the Super Bowl. I just don't quite see it. There's not enough there. They need a little bit of a better defense, just a little bit more dynamic, I guess. And so I'm going to put the Ravens at number 7, which, I don't know. The Ravens are a weird one because they had a really good start to the season, and then they were kind of trash in the middle, but then they have been really good in the past, 4 weeks, which is weird. They had a bunch of COVID problems and all that, so it could have been that. This year's weird. But they've been rolling. I mean, winning against the Giants, who they beat last week, the Jaguars, which, they're bad teams. They've had an easy end to the schedule, but I feel like they've just been playing great. They've just been rolling through these teams. And I'm pretty sure because of the Colts' loss yesterday, they are actually in the playoffs. And I think the Colts got bumped out, which I think it's so cool that there's like a 4-way tie for the wild card spots. And so all those teams are playing for something next week. I love when stuff like that happens because they're all just moving for it. Kind of like how the Bears will need to beat the Packers next week, and the Cardinals need to lose. It's so fun. But so the Ravens have been playing well. Lamar has been playing great. They're starting to look a little more dynamic, a little bit more like they were looking at the end of last year and looking like the team that we thought they would be this year. And they're still 10-5. Like, they had a really bad middle part. They lost was it 3 straight in the middle of the season, one of those being to New England. But I can't talk. The Patriots lost 38-9 tonight. But I think that this Ravens team is very good, and if they keep playing the way they're playing, I think they could make a really good run. And so, they were bad in the middle. If they're good in this postseason, then they could almost go all the way. I'm not quite ready to say that, but I'm ready to start thinking about it. But I think the Seahawks beat them. I put the Seahawks at number 6. They had a bit of an ugly win against the Rams, but they always felt in control of the game. That was a little bit more because Goff was just off. He can be so on and off sometimes, and he was just off this week and last week. That's why the Rams aren't on this list. They're too inconsistent. They can't put a run of 3 good games together. It's always, there's got to be something bad. There's got to be some problem. Goff gets in his own head. Then he goes through this cycle of then they're good again, and people are starting to have hope in them again, just like me. But then they start to be bad again, and they lose to the Jets. Then they lose one to the Seahawks, who, like I said, the Seahawks are good. They're number 6, but the Rams could beat the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, their defense has been getting a lot better. That was our main complaint. It's interesting. The offense hasn't been looking as good, which is why I put them at 6. But this is an offense that can turn it on. With receivers like Metcalf and Lockett and having a quarterback like Russell Wilson, I just see very few ways that this team doesn't step up in the postseason as long as everyone's healthy. I think this team could be really good. I think this team is really good. They've been winning games. They had kind of like the Ravens. They had a bad run in the middle, but they've really stepped on the gas, and I think it's very good for them. But I think the Buccaneers beat them. And I didn't have the Buccaneers even on the list last week. But the way that they beat the Lions, oh my God, it wasn't even close. It's crazy how good this team has gotten. And they're another one who had kind of a bad middle section of the season, but are now pumping the gas for the playoffs. And we all know that Tom is known for moving in the playoffs. They're another complete team, great receivers. Their defense is really good. I personally don't love the coach. I feel like there's mixed feelings, and Tom's been playing well, which that's the most important thing. If Tom's playing well, your team will be good. But I think the Saints beat them. The Saints are such a weird one because they're 11-3, but I just don't quite believe in them. And I know they're good, and I know they win games, but something just feels wrong. And they're kind of like a complete team, like I talked about the Dolphins and the Browns, but they're even better at it because their coach Sean Payton is just fantastic. But I think that they win these games, and that's fine. But Saints are never ones to make a big mark in the playoffs anyway. So I see them making the playoffs and making it pretty well, and maybe even win a round or two, but they just won't make quite the run. They don't have quite the explosive offense. They have a really good defense that's it's almost sneaky good, where they don't make all these big plays, but they get you off the field and they prevent you from scoring points. So I put them at number 4 because they're a good team. Something's missing. And so above them, this one's going to be pretty controversial. I'm putting the Chiefs, which I have put them at number 1 pretty much every week this season, but I don't know. I just think that these games are too close. And at some point, their luck is going to run out. You can only roll the dice so many times like this and barely sneak away. Once you play better teams than the Falcons, it's going to start to bite you in the ass. And I think it's going to. And I think they're going to get into one of those close game situations. But if they get into one of those close game situations with a team with a really good defense, like the Bills or even maybe the Dolphins, they can run into some real problems. And I think that puts them at number 3. And their offense is amazing. Mahomes is amazing. And their coach is great, Andy Reid. You shouldn't almost be losing to the Falcons. The Falcons are not good. And you're supposed to be the best team in the league. You have the first round bye. And, you can make an argument that they win games. But I just think they've gotten lucky on so many that I can't quite put them at number 1. And because I think that the Packers beat them. So I'm putting the Packers at number 2. That was a statement win against the Titans. Everyone was pretty much saying like, "Oh, the Packers don't beat good teams. They've only beaten one at that's over 500," which was true. And so Packers really almost had to prove something with this one, and they totally did. Like to win that decisively. And like I said before, I think it was partly due to the weather, but I really thought that this was going to be a total like shootout and it would be huge high scoring games on both sides. And I actually thought that the Titans would win. I still think the Packers are a better team, but I think that the Titans were a bad matchup for Green Bay because I think Henry could have run all over them. And I think it's a little bit of the weather, but yeah, the Packers just got it done and they've been getting it done. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is now the front runner for MVP. He has just been incredible. And I'm putting the Bills at number 1. As a Patriots fan, it was a tough night. They gave us a tough night. But they have just been rolling. I'm pretty sure they are a Hail Mary away from being 9-0 in the last 9. And they're one, this is why I love football so much, but they're one who have gotten better every week. And Josh Allen has gotten better every week, and the receivers have gotten better and more comfortable every week. And the defense didn't look great at the beginning of the season, but it's looking better. I think the Bills are just rolling, and I honestly think they're going to win the Super Bowl. And which I know it's kind of a bit of a hot take. I know a lot of the talk is the Chiefs because, like I said before, they do win games. But I think that this Bills team is much better, and I think that 7, 8 times out of 10 they do beat the Chiefs. And the Chiefs find a way to find that 2 or 3 times, but I think your magic can only go so far. So I'm putting the Bills at number 1. I love this team. I, as a Patriots fan, I am very nervous about what they can do to the East because they're also young. Like Josh Allen's young, the receivers are young, their defense is young. It is a scary thing for someone in the East. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode.